This is the Harbor Management Mooring Committee meeting on February 14th at 5:30 p.m. in Sullivan Independence Hall. We are called to order, and we have a flag in the room, and we're going to do the pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone for joining on Valentine's Day. We have just a few items on the agenda today, first of which is a report from the Harbor Master in the midst of our renewal cycle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's Brian LeClaire, Harbor Master. So I can give you an update as to where we are with the renewal process. I believe we're a little bit ahead of last year. I changed the emails that traditionally went out, might be one of the reasons, because as you know, if you look at our rules, mooring permits expire December 31st of every year. They must be completed by January 31st. The Harbor Master may allow a grace period until February 28th, and that there is no exception to the January 31st and February 28th dates. The old emails used to be a little bit softer, if that's the right word, suggesting that now you have until the end of February, not telling the folks that actually they must be done by January, and to the end of February is with my permission, and tell me why you need to the end of February. Beyond that, so I changed the email to be a little stronger and follow our rules, and I think that got a number of people's attention, that they can't just ignore this, because it's not fair to those who are looking for a spot that are calling me. I'm at the top of the list. I'd like to know, do I have to pay X marina, Y marina, or will I be getting my spot in Southport this year? Or I'm thinking of a bigger boat. Can you accommodate me if I sell my boat and buy another one? So with that said, we have 7 folks right now that are called under review. Of those, 6 have paid their money and owe random documents from insurance. Folks are working on getting the updated insurance, or the old registrations on the boat. They didn't listen to me to copy the one that expired. They need to wait till the end of March when the new one comes in. One gentleman has submitted all the documents, but not the payment, so I'm waiting for his check. They're on top of it, and that's reasonable. That's the kind of stuff I expect. Folks are making the effort, and that's a reasonable activity. The other one, there are 6 people who have not gotten back to me at all, have not responded to any of the automatic emails. So because they have 2 weeks left, I'm just going to make personal phone calls to them on their numbers because I can't tell if an email doesn't go through on online mooring. That's the one thing we don't get back. So that's okay. I did hear from one of them yesterday. Mr. Accomando thanked me, called me last night and said, I'm not going to be renewing. So there is going to be one. His boat's right in front of mine on the west wall in front of Fracker's house. So that's going to be, I can't put a deep boat there because of the bottom. I know that's an issue, but my boat fits fine in something smaller. He had a small sailboat. So we have one spot, which is good. The rest of them, it's Mr. Seymour, Mr. Sabia, Mr. Christie, Mr. Muller, and Mr. Furlong. Some of them surprised me because in the past, these are some of the folks that are on their boats all the time. And actually use their boats. So I'm going to have to reach out to them to see if it's what the issue is with them. But things are moving appropriately with the renewals, and of course the same with the wait list. There's just a few of them which have not submitted their wait list $10 renewals to maintain the spot on that list.
We're done with, for existing folks, with the Connecticut Safe Boating Certificate requirements. So
everyone has got them.
Everybody has them already, so that's not going to complicate it.
That's not going to complicate it. Folks have given me, insurance policies, but not the declaration. They've given me their bills, and I know it says everything except what the policy period is. It's all little nits like that. Yeah. And some folks have trouble scanning, and they send me pictures of hands. So we're working on that. But most folks are getting the hang of the system, and it's working well. And by doing what I asked last year to give me your 23 registration when it came in, now they're good I can renew it because it didn't expire yet. And I'm going to remind them during the summer, hey, you're going to have the one that expires in 2024. Give it to me now. Right. and send it. There was one glitch with online mooring I caught. They actually jinxed themselves. They sent me an email with the captain questioning how everything is. He hasn't heard from me, and I said, it's great. I've got the hang of the system. The first year is the hard year.
Right.
Everything is good. Then all of a sudden, 11:30 one night, I hear ding, ding, ding from the bedroom in my office. Apparently, the system glitched and it wasn't sending confirmations of payments and renewals. And I must have gotten 20, so now I'm wide awake because I think something's happening I need to know about. Everyone is trying to get through to me. And he said, no, one of their servers had a problem in sending things out. They've corrected it. But other than that, things are going fine with online mooring. So that as well. As to the docked vessels, I've talked to the club. We've invoiced them now, or we're going to invoice them for their floating docks and the North Anchorage. Betty was sending out those invoices, preparing those this week. I talked to Bonnie at the club.
They
needed an invoice to pay the money, and I can't tell how we did it last year.
They did it off of online mooring.
But do I generate a bill off of online mooring? I can't see that one went out from online.
No, they just filed an application. They had an application to renew they're on
North Anchorage.
They're in the system, huh?
The North Anchorage?
No,
there was one. Wasn't there? Jeff Engborg's on the line. Did we receive a check? I thought we got a check, but I don't know.
But they needed an invoice to pay the check.
But I thought that I thought in the system it's set up with the floating docks as an application.
They come out individually as application, the 6 floating docks or 7 floating docks, but then they have the North, and those are small amounts, a couple of $100
And
each.
those they're processing on the online mooring system? Or?
No, they're going to give me a check. One check for those, all of those, which I'll manually enter and process. But the North Anchorage, they want to give that big, that $10,000.
It doesn't matter.
They just needed an invoice to pay.
So Betty's going to do that.
So Betty's, I left them to last because that's easy. Betty was going to generate one for them and deal with Bonnie, and I put them together.
So that doesn't have anything to do. I was writing about docked vessels.
So we would generate the invoice? We would invoice?
The town would.
Invoices the fee cost?
Yeah.
Yes. They're going to give me 2 checks, one for all, they have docks. They have the
floating docks.
We call them the floating docks, the Ideal docks, the Junior dock, the Whaler docks, the dinghy docks.
Yep.
These are all little actually floating docks. They're kind of like a mooring because they're attached by moorings. They're not attached to the shore.
Okay.
This is not their dock with the big vessels.
Got it.
The club.
I didn't notice those in the north.
Mooring floats, yeah.
They're not in the north. They're outside of the North Anchorage.
Outside.
But they have yacht club vessels on them, Ideals or the 420s or the Whaler dock.
We'll do it again this time. You'll see when you go up the channel.
Yeah.
They're little.
They're just not secured they're not fastened to land.
They're fastened to moorings. They're a couple all over the place.
They're fastened with tackle.
Got it.
So that because of that, we have to.
So instead of one vessel on them, they put a bunch of vessels, but we have to build them for those floating docks, floats, whatever we call them. Mooring floats. Mooring floats. They're listed separately on the system.
Okay.
So we're on top of that, and we're going to get the checks for those, as well as the North Anchorage. We're going to do the same system as last year that Bonnie and I set up, where she gives me a zip drive or a flash drive with all of the North Anchorage boats, with the registrations, insurance, safe boating, because they get to pick what boats are there. They manage that themselves. And it's easier than me trying to set it up on online mooring, because that becomes unwieldy. I'll give them the same stickers I did last time, which they will assign to the North Anchorage vessels. And that worked, and the stickers are now printed again.
Okay.
They're all set, they're paid for, printed, ready to be picked up. Same numbering system, and that worked great last year with the club administering the North Anchorage. And I would just go there and just check the stickers on the boats, match it up against my database periodically, and it was fine. It was a good system for everyone.
And they register through you, though?
They let me know who's at the North Anchorage.
Got it.
Not only whose vessel, what it is, who owns it, and here's my registration, my insurance, and my safe boating certificate.
To make it easy for you.
They have to get that anyways from their members that they allow there. So it makes it one flash drive with everything that we need. So it's easier than,
The club had asked for support with flexibility for them to maximize the utilization of their North Anchorage moorings. And by doing this, it allows them to, when they know that members are going to be out of the harbor, they can let others use the moorings.
Okay.
So they're sort of policing and using it. We only care about collecting the fees for the moorings themselves. After that, they can police it. As long as the documentation is the same as what we would have anyway, and it's available readily to the harbor master, that was meeting our needs. And so that was a change that went into effect.
Well, when we did the rules, because historically they had 51, the rule is one one person on a mooring. And the yacht club had 51 moorings, so 51 members of the yacht club would have a mooring, and if they were going to be gone for the month of August, that mooring would have to sit empty.
Supposedly, right, yeah.
Based upon our.
Historically,
Rule,
but once the rules have changed, the yacht club, if somebody's going to be on the first mooring is going to be gone for the month of August, the yacht club can invite another member to come in and use that mooring for that period of time.
Makes sense, and they manage it, they
And
enforce
it's
it.
there, and
They
they
manage
just
it.
let the harbor master know.
But historically, our rules were one person is assigned to a mooring.
For a
Correct.
year,
Sublet it.
for a
Correct.
season,
Correct.
First, yeah.
for the
Period.
season, period, the end.
Got it.
Yeah.
We frowned upon anyone else coming in.
It wasn't allowed.
It wasn't
Okay.
allowed, it was against the rules.
Got it.
Yeah, you just can't come in on a town mooring. I watch the boats. I go out there once every week and look at, now I know whose boat
Sure.
is whose. And I'll go up and down, and if I ever saw the wrong boat,
Right,
I'd question, why is this at your mooring?
Right.
Get it out of here,
Right.
got it.
make sure it's fair.
Right.
But the North Anchorage, since they're assigned to them, they've paid for them,
Right.
it's a better system for everyone, I
Sure.
think. They can have we have a better utilization of the harbor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
And they manage it appropriately.
Yeah,
And they manage the three transients as well, the visitors, those
Mhm.
are always boats that are in and out. It's not a member that sits there all summer,
Right.
and that's not its purpose. And they're very good letting the transients come in and handling that, so it works out well for us. As to the docked vessels, they gave me the list of the slips, I should call them, the slips, it might be a better name. There's all the slips off the club. It includes, one of the club boats, the tender, obviously, but it's all those boats that nose in or stern in, right on shore, right at the yacht club. And they've given me that information and given me data from them, because those boats, because they're docked, I have them on online mooring. I have the names on online mooring, and I have complete information from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. One of them I need registration, one registration, and 2 of them registrations and insurance, random things I need from the boats, and I've been corresponding with them. And Bonnie steps in and helps me out with those from the club, because she interfaces with the members. They have 2 open slips right now. When they fill them with members, and I don't know if they've done that. Jeff, you're on the phone. It's Brian. Have I know you had 2 open ones as to Bonnie's last list. Do you know if they've been assigned to members yet, by any chance?
That's still under discussion right now. We're trying to do a seniority search and find out who is interested in those moorings.
So those folks may come out of the North Anchorage. They may come from out of town, if their boats are in Bridgeport, Westport, wherever they may be now, or they may come off of a town mooring. And if they do, that would free up a spot on the town mooring, obviously, for us to look at on the list.
permanently.
Right. So, there's a possibility so they do have 2 open spots. And they have North Anchorage that they have to assign as well. You may see that some member may want to go to the North Anchorage instead of a town mooring for whatever reason. That's their decision. So we may have some openings. I don't know that.
Where are we with respect to the private property owner docked vessel reports?
That is coming along, because last year I have information on a number of those vessels, and that's the project for this year, basically, is to make sure I have complete information on all of those vessels. Now that I have a good feel for the channel, I know the fields are off the channel. I've got the registrations, and I know the one dock near Yee Yacht Yard, and I'll have all that information. So we'll have all of that. And now I have a new engine on the Whaler. I just had it installed right before Christmas. So now I have a reliable way to go where I want to go and not worrying about dying or paddling or having to call the club to get the embarrassing tow back.
Or loan you the red stick.
Loan me the red stick. I'll give me the red stick to whatever you call, what does a gondolier do?
Right.
To pull myself back up the
There you
channel. I won't be rowing to the end of the channel. So
go.
that is this year. So I think we have a good start from last year. And so that's good. And, and for the other, it doesn't affect your commission, but for like this Pine Creek area, I have a full photo library of every dock there and every vessel from going up there with the police boat and then myself later last year. We have photographs of everything to man, but I don't need to keep, that's a later project.
So going back to the 6, we know that one of the 6 indicates he's not going to be renewing, freeing up a west wall
Correct.
mooring. The other 5 we don't know yet, but there could be possibly as many as 5 others.
We could have 5 other, although, I know that Mr.
There's already
Sabia
February
is out there a
14th.
lot. He's had trouble last year, Mr. Sabia, with the system and came in.
Okay.
Maybe. I know we've had Mr. Muller, Mr. Furlong. We know they've been active. The names are not unfamiliar names.
Right.
Right.
So we'll see. We'll know.
We'll see what the issue is. As I call them before, just to try to, make sure they're getting the emails
Right.
correctly. They haven't moved their emails and forgot about this one, because we won't know. But they're the last of the stragglers.
So I'm trying to remember where we are now. So we had one person who wanted to relocate because of the change vessel.
Yeah, well, he's not gotten back to me, and in talking to Jeff, I'm not sure that that gentleman is going to get the sailboat at this point.
Okay.
He hasn't gotten back to me.
Okay.
We have as you remember, Predator came at the rigid hull inflatable,
Right.
20-plus footer, that came in last year when we moved that sailboat to the Helix area. We have a gentleman who, Mr. DeCalise, bought a bigger boat, a 40-something foot boat. We can accommodate him because I'm going to do a flip of the boat.
In front
I'm
of
going to stick him over by the Ideal dock at the end of
furthest north, furthest south of
Further-
the dock. Yeah.
furthest north.
Further east?
North or
Northeast. That's north. Yeah, going in the channel on the right. Yeah,
Okay.
furthest northeast, closest to that dock, and that'll give him enough room. And I'll coordinate with Jeff and Travis as
So that's just a switch.
that's going to be a switch, because the one Predator, I can move him up because he's a very maneuverable boat as well, as is this new one,
Right.
the 43, 40 whatever footer. They're going to have more maneuverability to get in and out of that, bow thrusting it and bringing it up sideways with those engines. So that'll be a good.
Okay.
We'll make that switch work. And other than the one gentleman who is next to Mr. French's boat along that Levy Smith area,
Mm-hmm.
he has not gotten back about a bigger boat, and we cannot accommodate a sailboat yet either. If he gets a sailboat, he certainly can't go in front of me on that
Right.
west wall location.
Right.
When he's talking about won't
Right.
fit
So
there.
it'd be on hold for one to
He
become.
may have to be on hold until we figure it out.
Are any of the other 6 that you haven't heard from, are they big boats, or are they small boats, or?
I think they're all in that same area,
Okay.
the same area, kind of across from where my area is, that little
Oh,
area,
right.
that, mid-wall area, or the west wall area.
So new openings, if there are, would be primarily for the smaller boats, not
Smaller
the bigger
boats, 25, 27-foot sailboats, or smaller power boats.
And refresh my memory on the assertion of littoral rights. We have still one person on the list.
I think he's on the top of the list.
We have one, and what was that? That's a power vessel, is that
A
right?
power boat, a mid-sized power boat, yeah.
So he would be.
He might be able to go in front of, in the Accomando spot. He may fit there. I'll know. My plan is once I get everyone back, know who's coming back, then I talk to the club about, the moorings and what we can actually accommodate, given what tackle we have on the ground. But we'll have at least one new boat in this year, if not a couple.
Okay.
So that is what I think that's about. Yeah.
Any questions about where we are in the process? So all in all, it sounds like the process is
Good.
running pretty
Sounds like
smoothly.
it's
Running smoothly. And I
Yeah.
gotta tell you, the software is, once you get the hang of it and know how, when people put wrong stuff up, how to delete old registrations and get them off,
Yeah.
I can clear up stuff, and it's actually quite much faster this year,
Yeah.
working on it, approving things. Once you get the hang of it, it really is good software, kind of intuitive once you understand their logic. So,
Can also report that our neighbors to the east in Stonington doubled their mooring permit fees for this year. So they went from 50 to 100. They've been 50 for a very long time.
$100?
Yeah, to
And it's their own
And it-
tackle, the owner's tackle.
owner's tackle. So that's just the permit fee.
Right.
Um,
And that's the best thing I think we have, is the fact is, talking of tackle, that this is town tackle.
Control, right.
We can keep the accidents, if you talk to anyone in Black Rock Harbor, every year there's a boat or two that a shackle broke or a chain broke or something broke. And because of the robust inspection and maintenance we have, it protects every vessel in the harbor. We don't,
Right.
and we're tight. We can't have boats coming loose and swinging sideways and blocking the channel, so that's a good thing.
I mean, I think other towns have inspection requirements, but that's not the same as.
Not the same.
As the town owning the tackle and having a top-notch.
As an owner of a boat, I'm glad to pay a few $100
Right.
to not worry about my tackle and to know that it's just one less thing to ever be worried about.
Kim, do you remember if we were at the top of what the town is allowed to charge? There are caps on the charges, and I can't remember if we're already there as a town.
Yeah, I can't remember.
So this goes to the outgo question of that 102 account, and we have not changed our mooring permit fees for years. And so the Stonington action caused me to give at least a thought we should think about if we're concerned about the potential exposure for not just tackle, but potentially other things, we should be, at least in the back of our minds, thinking about what those options might be. I don't know where we are. I understood there were caps on some expenses, but I don't remember, from the state, but I don't remember.
There is a cap from the state, I believe, but I don't remember what the formula is.
And Jeff would know, but he's
Jeff
not here
would know,
tonight.
but he's not here.
Incremental increases are always better than lump, a sudden big increase.
Right. They
Right.
haven't done any at all for years and
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would complain, because they seem incredibly low to everyone, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just,
On the other hand, that account is
right now,
flush, and if we had to replace everything, we would still have money left. Every bit of tackle, labor, brand new. Jeff did the numbers, and we'd still have a significant.
as long as we're not also having to fund other things.
Right.
We have to pay for docks.
Right. Well, I think at some point we will have to. I can't imagine. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we want to.
We're going to have to make a contribution.
Right.
We read that deed, and it says that we're responsible for the maintenance of the dock, and it's.
Yeah.
We are spending a little money, which is good,
Yeah.
the new mooring floats that we
Right.
approved last meeting.
That's
in the
true.
Helix area, and new wraps for the
Speed.
speed buoys, the two speed limit buoys. That's good. We should be maintaining stuff like that and not just accumulating money, but spending it to be ahead of an issue.
No question.
And that's a good thing to do.
I just worry about big expenses
Yeah.
that we are caught flat-footed on because we
Yeah.
have to do the tackle anyway. But
Right.
if there's anything that's in the offing, better to start thinking about upping the fee to make sure that account is not always running short, and
Right.
better to have some money in it. Anyway, we can talk. This is not the time of year.
This is not the time. We can't do it anyway. We'd have to wait and do it next year if we wanted to do something.
We have to approve it in the fall for I think in December, we're supposed to approve
Right.
any changes to the
Right.
fees. So, anyway, I thought I would just mention that.
Yeah. No, that's actually a good question, and we should know the answer to that. I mean, whether or not, how close we are to the limit, what's the formula?
Right.
What does the state allow? We shouldn't just assume that what we're doing is all we can do.
Right. And I don't think any of us have an absolute handle on what these other expenses might end up looking like.
No, I think that's true too.
Yeah. The next item on the agenda, we have to be a little bit careful about. We can talk about the process of the Deputy Harbor Master search, which is what I was hoping to do. Obviously, in a public meeting, we can't have any discussions about any names of applicants. I know we're in the middle of collecting applicants, actually towards the end of that process. But
tomorrow was the deadline.
I think, yes, tomorrow is the
4:30.
deadline. And I know we've got a number of applicants, but we cannot talk about
Any of the names.
But
Well, I don't think there's any need to talk about the names,
No,
because
but
that's the committee's job.
Right,
So-
but in terms of process, just to clarify,
Yeah.
it might be useful just to make sure we're all on the
Yeah.
same pages.
Yeah.
What next steps look like
Yeah.
and so forth.
Yeah.
So,
You have 9 names now, I believe, if I'm counting correctly.
You're none? Yeah.
The men
and we have a review committee now. It's the same committee that's gonna interview, yeah?
It's a search and selection committee? Is that right?
Yeah.
And once you get the names, then I would think we should talk about a time to meet everyone. And, rolling at half-hour intervals or whatever it might be over a
I
day
think
or
we took
two.
more than half an hour to meet with
I'm
you.
trying to remember what,
We allotted an hour,
an hour?
and the hour allowed us to interview and process, and for the air to get cleared for the next candidate to come in.
And you interviewed them as a committee, all
Yes.
three?
Oh, absolutely.
And all of them, unless there was something that showed they were manifestly unqualified from the written requirements for the job. Everybody was interviewed, so nobody was excluded.
Right. Well, you have to treat everybody equally. You can't,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So, and the same questions, the same amount of time.
We have the question. Did you get the questions?
I've emailed you the questions.
Do you have them? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that, even
But I
though
don't-
it could be very similar to the kinds of questions that we
Yeah,
had.
those were good questions you asked last time, too,
Yeah.
anyways, those
Yeah.
were
So
good.
we're going to give a quick update where we...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, in January, we all, approved the verbiage of notice and also the job description. On January 19th, that was circulated with the help of Betty through the, First Selectwoman's update and also our Harbor Management Commission website. In addition, we've got some time on the patch as well. I'm not sure if you noticed that, but that was great, so it was widely circulated through the patch. In addition, I also circulated it through the membership of Flotilla 77, the Coast Guard Auxiliary at South Benson Marina, as well as the Fairfield Beach Residents Association, the Pine Creek Neighborhood Association, the Jennings Beach Association, and Fair Acres, so most of the neighborhood coastal associations in Fairfield. In addition, I've also, sort of widely publicized it through my network. In so doing thus far, I believe we have 8 individuals, I think, so far, 9 individuals who have sent their cover letters and their resumes to the attention of Betty. I've reviewed most of them, and it seems like we've got a great pool of candidates. The deadline is tomorrow, February 15 at 4:30, and then we could all convene and review the various credentials of the applicants and decide upon the selection criteria that we will use to select 3 that we send to
The governor.
Governor. And so that's where it stands relative to our search and selection committee.
So when we did that, the committee did the interviewing, made decisions, and made a recommendation to the full Harbor Management Commission.
Correct.
And that was the time that the Harbor Management Commission heard about the applicants, after you'd interviewed them and
Yeah.
made a decision and a recommendation.
Okay. After our committee, that's right.
Yeah, so there's nothing in
Well,
this.
no, there's you're right, that's what we did, and we went into executive session because there were 3 names, and we wanted to describe each of the 3 candidates to the commission, because the commission then was voting on whether or not to accept the recommendation
Right.
of the selection committee.
Mm.
So the selection committee will come up with the top 3 in order, and then we want the commission to ratify that decision and move it along to the governor.
So that would be at an upcoming.
That would
full
be
Harbor-
after you get done interviewing a
Right.
full commission meeting, that would be the first time we would hear, and we'd only hear the names of the 3.
The commission, right. And statute dictates that we send 3 to the
Correct.
governor's office.
But you can
Correct.
tell which is your favorite candidate.
Yeah, you have to
Rank.
rank, you
Sure.
have to rank them, yeah.
Yeah, great. And,
And-
Something to say something.
And what the first select woman also at that time wrote a letter in favor of the choice to the governor as well. So there's 2 letters that go out.
the Harbor Management Commission and the first select woman.
The first select woman and
Or you would write it on behalf of, I guess, the chair of the Harbor Management
well,
Commission would write it
you
down.
or me or somebody, but yeah, it
Okay.
goes to the governor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So it looks like we've got a great pool of candidates, just upon, sort of, quick glance from my perspective, what's a great credentials, and then I guess we could convene and identify, the key criteria for our selection decision, or not. Well, I mean, I would think, like, to me, I mean, obviously, background, experience, all the typical stuff. I mean,
Yeah, but you've already, the next step is to interview,
Right,
and then you decide, based on your interview.
well.
In other words, you have to interview all 9 folks.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would think that we would establish the criteria that we use before we interview,
Yeah.
because that's what we're looking
And the
for.
questions, and
Yeah.
so you know what you're,
So to me, I think the criteria would be key, then we collect information on the candidates.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I always thought that the questions implied the criteria, sort
Right.
of, and then it was sort of the different members of the committee had different views about which of the various things we were probing about were the most important factors, and different candidates were stronger in one or the other. But,
Sure.
So it's tricky that way, because it's not so black and white with a lot of these decisions
Yeah.
sometimes. But it was the questions that were always the same questions asked of every candidate, so that we were able to say we tried to get the answers to every one of those questions from every single person. And
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of recruiting and selecting in my position, and again, I always try to let the candidate put, to me, it's my job for them to put the paint on the canvas. You know, and so just like for the interviewer to facilitate them showing up with the criteria that has been deemed appropriate for the position. But I think the bigger one is, I mean, he's gonna work hand in hand with a harbor master. So he or she, I think that interpersonal connection, from my perspective, is absolutely critical, apart from the detail orientation and background experience and, you know, a host of other factors.
I think we had different members of the committee assigned to ask different of the questions.
We did.
On the agenda.
We
So
did. We had
the same
one-
person always asked the same question.
Oh, is that right?
So that you were the person who was asking the questions, other people were listening to the answer.
Oh, yeah.
It was sometimes it's hard when you're the person asking
Yeah.
to absorb every
Sure.
nuance of what the response was, and the others watching pick up stuff that.
And so you did it as a group, so all three members of the committee would interview each of the
Oh,
candidates?
absolutely.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's interesting.
There were some very good questions, too, not just.
Yeah, I think that's important to do.
Because I typically do a little differently.
Yeah, but you have to treat everybody the same. You
Sure.
can't treat anybody
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah.
So the protection for that is same amount of time, same questions, same people.
Yeah.
I mean, the last thing we need is somebody to call up the governor and say, but I never got interviewed by him.
Right.
I only got interviewed by him, and their process is all
Sort of different,
messed up.
the non-private enterprise.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah, this is the first time I've done this in the public
Yeah,
sector,
and Yeah.
because typically, I mean, again, but use a variety of different means, and there's an art and a science to it.
Absolutely,
And,
but we can't afford to be embarrassed,
Yeah.
or the first select one to be embarrassed, or the governor to be embarrassed by a,
Should we pick a day to interview, so we have something?
That
like
was tricky, because you sort of have to negotiate what the availability is of your applicants, who are
Right.
probably mostly are still working.
Yeah.
And
Oh, right.
so we were doing them in the evenings, but even with that, we had to say, okay, we've got some evenings that the committee is available between this time and this time, and somebody has to call them and see which of the 9 people can fit into the various time slots that you have available.
You've done
It was
Saturdays,
tricky, it was
too.
trickier than you might
we
think.
did Saturday the first year.
Right.
Yeah, we did Saturday the first year. You have to get a room, a town room,
Right.
and you've got to run that through Jen Carpenter.
Buildings are closed on weekends, the library might be open, or
Yeah,
people but not.
yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, it has to be in public.
So-
And we are obligated to interview all of the candidates,
If-
regardless.
You didn't, I don't believe the job description indicated minimum criteria.
No, but I
So
mean,
then,
yeah. But, I mean, conceivably, again, I do this all the time.
yeah,
Somebody
but this
applies
is
to
the
me.
public sector.
Yeah,
and you-
but we're still obligated to interview anybody, even if they're
They'd have to
grossly,
be,
Well,
if
you
you
didn't-
find a grossly one, probably talk to Kim about it, but.
or the top, the top.
We have to,
Okay.
no, we gotta talk to all of them.
Yeah.
So we look forward to that process.
Yeah, I mean, we did it over 3 nights or something, I'm trying to remember.
We did it, we had, I think we had back-to-back one night and then 2, I think we did it 3 days, back-to-back one day and individuals on the other day.
days, right, but you've got 9.
And prior for the prior harbor master, we did it
Yeah,
over 4 days.
got it.
But, people's schedules
Right,
become the issue.
Yeah, and so it's 3.
right.
And I think he's the most important component, obviously.
Remember, I don't get to vote, though.
I think it's important that all
I
3 of
get
you are in all of
to
them.
interview,
It's the
Well,
same
we provide
respect
our
for
feedback.
opinions.
Right.
It's for the reason that Kim said, it has to be all 3 of you at all of them.
Right.
So it has to start with what your 3 guys can do. And
Yeah, but so there's only 2 members of the committee, well, there's 3 members, 2 voting members. So who's gonna be the tiebreaker?
I don't think we had non.
We didn't have an issue with, that wasn't an
Okay.
issue.
Yeah, we had, it wasn't an issue,
Well,
but
we-
we had non-commissioners on the last committee.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And people were past commissioners, that's
Yeah.
a requirement of the committee.
Yeah,
We have people who had never been on the commission.
Yeah.
yeah.
You can vote.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can't vote in the commission
Commission
either.
recommends,
As
but
a
I
member
Well,
of
yeah.
the committee,
And
that's
again, I think
fine.
you're the
to
most.
make a recommendation.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can vote.
you're the most
Absolutely.
important component. I mean,
I'm glad we're having this conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm confident that we'll be able to select the appropriate number to send to the
I think
governor's
we'll feel
office?
it, we'll see it when we interview the people.
Absolutely
Usually that
will.
happens, something just
Absolutely.
clicks, or they understand what the position is and how they can contribute and why you want
Yeah.
to be involved, and
Yeah.
you have to pick that right person.
Yeah. I mean, at the end, we ended up communicating to the people that were not being selected also, so
Right.
they didn't hear about it because of
Right.
the public communications to the governor, so, but that we're far away from that point.
And so is there any time frame that the governor's office, I mean, are they working off of any, no, so just as we make that recommendation, so ideally, when would we want to submit?
It's gonna take months, I mean, at least with my case, it took several months before the governor,
July to
appointed-
September, wasn't it?
Yes, or October, I think.
Was it October?
And he does background checks. I mean, once you're given to him, you know, at least they contacted me to fill out a questionnaire. Just check, you know, that you're not gonna be an embarrassment to the state of Connecticut,
Right.
the governor, the town, and
Right.
everyone, that, you know, that just because you're recommended by the commission, they're just not gonna rubber stamp that. You know, it's important to have, the right person.
Yeah, so we'll do our due diligence accordingly.
Hopefully by the summer, we'll have someone.
Yeah, so the question was your question was when should you guys try?
Yeah,
to
is there any, right, so I mean, if at any point when we conclude the process, the governor's office is open to review.
I mean,
There's no deadline that we have.
No.
We have a meeting next week, that's not gonna happen, but if we could do it for the month of
If we could,
March.
if we could be approving your recommendation in March,
So it's 4 weeks, I've got some travel coming up. I'd say realistically, you know, like just realistically to submit it to the larger commission by April.
The April meeting. would be-
Yeah, just realistically, if we could do it before then, you know, so be it, you know, if we could do it
and
by,
hopefully, we could have somebody on board by August, by
Start-
July.
Start getting some on the water
Yeah,
training and
yeah.
then be ready to do the renewal process.
The renewal process next fall.
They won't be able to bottom paint the harbor master vessel this year, but maybe next year.
part of the process.
Low man on the totem pole.
Let the record show it's an unpaid position.
Well, actually, we don't know if it's unpaid by the
Okay.
state.
Okay, we don't know.
We
that.
don't know that.
Yes,
The state has it's like $900 a year, $980 a year the harbor masters get from the state.
Can you find out if because before you do the interview, you
Yeah,
should at
you'd
least
like
know
to
the
know.
answer.
Yeah, no, this is great stuff. So we've chosen not to pay for the position, right?
It's not budgeted.
We didn't budget for
Not
it,
in this
because there was
town.
some debate about that.
It's not budgeted.
It's not budgeted. And so the state, you think would pay,
We don't know.
We don't
We don't know.
They pay me less than $1,000 a year, once a year in the spring. I want to say it's like $960 or $980 or
Okay.
something.
This is not a remunerative.
No.
That's right.
You're not
This
just
is
a random.
right,
public service job.
I didn't realize it was money till after.
Right.
they
right.
told me.
And that'll come out. I mean, so people are not even clear on what the compensation is, and so that'll come out.
No question.
Another
And
one of
some
the
people will
critical
just get up and say, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
The folks
Good
that
to
call
know.
me, I've told them, you know, they've asked me, I think I spoke to two or three people now, and I've said, you know,
Yeah.
don't do this for compensation because don't expect any.
Right.
And, you know, this is not a full-time job, it's not even a part-time job,
Yeah.
pay-wise.
But the compensation's intrinsic is what it is.
I tell them community service.
Yeah, yep.
Basically is what it is.
It is what it
If you do
is.
the hourly rate,
Yep.
even with me, you'd find out
Ridiculous, right?
you know, I spend more money on stuff that I need as harbor
Sure.
master, whether it's a bullhorn or
Yeah.
things to the boat or boat hooks and stuff that you need.
Job of love.
It's basically, right, it is. It's just, I use that as an expense account to
Yep.
pay for stuff that harbor master should have and,
Right,
you know, need.
right,
So
right.
that's what I love
So it's
about
clear
it.
that there's no budget from our commission. We're not clear on whether or not there will be any subsidies from the state of.
Well, we should know before the interview.
I'll find out, and
Okay.
it's gonna be a minimal amount, but we should tell them.
Yeah,
Either hundreds or zero.
right,
I don't even know what they have in the budget or how they even come up with
Yeah.
that number.
Yeah.
And the hundreds is annual.
right. I interviewed a gentleman who played for the Colorado Rockies. He started his career, and so, yeah, I always asked this, what did you make? He had like $1,200 a month in the Rockies, only paid them for like 8 months. So you're like $10,000
But then
a
if you
year, but
make-
you're in the big leagues, and everybody's chasing their dream, and so,
Yep.
you know, there's a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow.
At that-
I'm not sure there's
right.
one at the end of our rainbow.
Right,
It's not the town of Fairfield.
Well, people will salute, how about that?
That's right.
The pot of gold is become harbor master.
That's
today.
right.
There we go.
Right, yeah.
The big bucks.
You get that sign on the boat that you guys gave me, congratulations, you don't have a boat, here's the sign. I brought it home, my wife said, what is that?
In lieu of a boat.
We gave you a sign. We worked so hard on that boat.
Now I feel
Oh,
badly.
I still laugh about the sign, right there on the boat.
The yacht
Little
club was
whalers.
so generous, and we were so hopeful,
It
and
just was.
it just all went south so fast.
Even the town's leftover boats we couldn't get, so.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, so
Oh,
you endeavor to get a boat from the yacht club? Is that the idea?
They offered us
They offered us
an older boat, and
The
the
town
town
said
said
no.
no,
Because of liability?
because it was an older boat. Who
How
knows?
does it happen? Because I'm a state official.
Right.
If you think about it.
Right.
I'm covered.
That's true.
Right, I'm actually.
Yeah, right, it's a lot from liability.
Liability-wise.
Right.
So how could
But the vessel itself could do damage, and that kind of liability.
That's why we have the state, yeah.
How could the town even weigh in then? If you're you're a state official.
It was a town
Because
asset.
it comes to
It
us.
was the boat was gonna belong to.
Under our commission.
That's another thing, I've
Well,
talked to Deep
it is,
about
yeah.
surplus deep vessels.
That would be good.
Ooh, that would be
There's
great.
another way around it where they can, or stationing a vessel, because there's a harbor master spot off the wall. And they've never had a boat this part of the state, so I've had some discussions that if you want to station a boat there for your use, that would be the
Right.
harbor master use as well. This way, if you need to jump on it and respond, you have a vessel ready to go. If someone calls up ENCON, and they need a boat. So.
We know just the 38-foot,
Well,
brand new.
But they've got vessels that deep, they just haven't had it in the water. So I said you should probably station one on the Western Sound if you wanted to respond to wherever from Norwalk.
I think we're in favor of that.
Yeah.
It's good that they have boats, so when there are complaints
Yeah.
or issues, they have a way to
I mean,
respond.
seriously, that would
It'd
be
be
actually
really-
nice to have someone
Actually,
besides
that's
the
yeah.
police boat,
Yeah.
so.
And the deep needs them periodically. If they respond to a spill, they have no boat. They have to trailer a boat all the way down and put
Well,
it
that's
in somewhere.
crazy.
Is that right?
They don't have response boats in this part of the
So
Sound.
I'm glad we had a conversation about the
Yeah.
That's
the
something
next
I-
steps in this process.
Yeah.
So the next
Yeah.
steps are for you guys to coordinate calendars for possible dates to interview, and it sounds like you're gonna need a handful of days to do this, so.
Yeah.
There's an app, by the way. There's something that's a scheduling thing. For scheduling, I'll get you the name of it. I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, yeah.
We can send it out to everyone and have them all say what date, and it puts it together.
Figures out what works.
It figures out what works to everyone. I forget, it is like I said, it works pretty easy.
Yeah. Or we could do it over time, 6 to 9 PM on whatever, we could pick a couple days.
We're focusing on evenings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
because of the applicants, you're likely to have better luck with them if you do it.
Yeah, and it'll show how eager people are for the position, like that bears out too.
Right.
People who
No
are,
question.
yeah, so, but, yeah, so that's the latest on our search.
Anything else for tonight's meeting that we should talk about
I don't
going
think
into the
so.
new season?
No.
I can't think of anything else. Anything from the public? Pat, do you have anything for us tonight?
Well done. I agree with everything that's said tonight. Have a good
Excellent.
evening.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
Pat.
you, sir.
Thanks,
Jeff,
Pat.
anything?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks,
you
Jeff.
also for your ongoing support. We appreciate it. We are
Good night
adjourned.
now.